She already beat you.
That's right, I thought you already started it.
I had not. I know, life is full of joy. This would be Wednesday, November 19th, although we seem to be confused on things. And so this will be my advanced class. Hello, dead kids at home. We're actually going to be discussing ways to bring you back to life today. We're going to be talking about genetic engineering and the end of our story, Flowers for Algernon, and all kinds of fun things from there. If you're at home, we're going to give you the bell work, so make sure you put this into your table of contents. It's also on the website. You can go there too. So we'll be going over this, not today, so you won't get the answers. You'll just have to go through there and figure it out. There's the information on that point. All right, everyone, close your eyes. Quickly, close your eyes.
My eyes.
Okay, you can open them now.
You went to.
Cheaters. All right, so I forgot that I hadn't taken off the answers. That was my fault. That's all right, life goes on. What we're going to do for today, we're going to be talking, it's a debate. Arguing is what is pointless. A debate is where we're trying to bring in information. And so for today's discussion / debate, the idea of genetic engineering, which is going to tie to the end of the story. But first, I want to talk about the end of the story, and then we're going to talk about the arguing that we're going to do. With the story, what ends up happening to Charlie? Chloe?
Well, he kept on getting less smart, like he predicted, but he forgot what he predicted and everything, and he keeps forgetting everything, and he's just all sad and depressed because he thinks he's gonna die because of the.
What happens to Algernon?
Experiment. He dies. Algernon dies.
He seemed a little excited on that, but yes.
No.
Sad part, Mouse dies.
But and so he's gonna move to New York because he wants to try and start over and everything because he can't take the pressure
Of
facing the people that he likes, and so he moves to New York, and
What?
and Algernon is in his backyard.
Yes,
Dead.
yes, he is. Still dead. You still seem
dead.
excited.
Wait.
Abby Q.
But what it seemed like is because he said, what's kind of sad is I think he died when he said, when he was talking about bringing flowers for Algernon, he said dot as if he just
At the end.
yeah.
So what does the title of the story mean when it says Flowers for Algernon?
The last things he writes.
To put flowers
Oh,
on
it's the last
Algernon.
thing he writes.
Uh-huh.
It's so sad.
Why was it so sad at the end?
Because
Thistle?
he died when he was writing that.
Because who's he writing to?
The people that, the scientists
Dr. Niemer and Dr. Strauss. And,
and what's her name?
yes, her name.
Miss Kenny.
Miss
Nice of that, Miss
Yeah.
Kenyon. And so what is he asking them to do?
To put flowers on Algernon.
And it's sort of like, if you will, a metaphor, because he's not really asking just for the flowers. He put it on Algernon's grave. What is he technically asking them to do?
Put flowers on his grave.
Because he's not going to be there, so he's saying, I'm going to be gone, we know what's going to happen to me, so this is his way of saying, mourn me, move on, put flowers out there for Algernon, but really the flowers are going to be for him. So that's his way of sort of reaching out there and saying we're bonding and connecting and stuff like that. And then also you get that sadness at the end. You're like,
He did not
emotion.
I was reading this on the bus yesterday.
So it was a little tough on you? Yeah. This cold tears is frozen on your cheek. Yes, Rose.
So, what made me really sad is because, I felt he just wanted to be smart and he just wanted to hold on to that till the end. But then in the last part it says, and P.S. please tell Dr. Niemer not to be such a grouch when people laugh at him and he would have more friends. He's basically going back to the way he was because, before, he was saying, he realized that if they were laughing at you, they weren't your friends. And now he's telling Dr. Niemer that they are your friends if they laugh at you.
And trying to do that, yeah. Speaking of going back, do his old friends show up again?
Yeah.
How do they show up again, and what are your thoughts on them when they show up, Thistle?
Okay, so he's getting picked on by someone, and then they come up and they're
Well, where is he now?
in the factory
He gets to go back to work, and why does he get to go back to work at the factory?
because he needs the money.
Because he's dumb again. And so since he's dumb, how do people feel about him? They're no longer
His friend.
Scared. Remember we talked about the things we
Scared.
don't understand scare us, and the fact that now they're like, oh, you're dumb. We understand dumbness. Okay, we're not scared anymore. So now they allow him to come back, but then, as I pointed out, one of the new guys who hadn't been there before starts making fun of him, and what happens when the new guy makes fun of him? Thistle.
His friend like comes over and like
Yes.
does a bunch
Defends
of
him.
stuff. Yeah.
Yes, slaps him like a little girl, apparently. Apparently comes over to defend him, which lets you know how did those people that he thought weren't his friends feel about him? Abby Q.
Like they're actually his friends.
Yeah, the people from the very beginning, they were just scared, but they come back and they defend him and they stand up for him and they try to be nice to him, and you get that nice little bonding thing at the very end. But then he goes on from there and accidentally goes back to Miss Kenion's class when he's not supposed to be there, and that's when he starts getting sad and decides that he's going to take off and change his life and not be around them anymore and stuff like that, which is a sad little ending to it. But an overall, hopefully enjoyable story. Much more enjoyable than the one we're going to get to tomorrow and Friday. Because this one had emotion and happiness, and the one we're going to get to tomorrow and Friday... Yeah, there's just no way to prepare you for that. It's just an experience, to say the least. Speaking of experiences, for today's discussion, the idea of what they did to Charlie is genetic engineering. It's the idea of going in there and messing with your body to change who you are. And it's one of those things that we're getting to now. We're able to map the human genome, which means we know what makes a human and all the little genes that go into it. So instead of trying to fix people who are sick, or instead of trying to give people vaccines, we can make people naturally immune to things. So instead of giving you a vaccine, we can go into when a lady's pregnant, and they can do stuff to the baby, and they can make it so the baby will never get certain sicknesses, and they can manipulate the genes, if you will. And they realize, let's say, back up. You guys know what diabetes is.
Yeah.
Diabetes, there's a medicine you have to have that your body lacks. Do you know what that medicine, what it is that your body lacks to make it happen?
Food.
Close. It's insulin, which is the sugar that's in food. And they realize that with diabetes, it's because oftentimes the body's missing this certain insulin that's in there. They can go in there and adjust the baby while it's still in utero. They can do tests to figure out if baby's going to be diabetic or not. And then they can adjust that baby while it's still inside the mom. They can adjust the genes, insert medicine that changes how it grows, and makes it so they can fix it so it won't come out diabetic. And so they can get rid of that diabetic gene that is inside of them. That's the idea of genetic engineering, the idea of changing who we are in one way or another. So what we're going to get to today is the idea of, should we be able to do these ideas of what genetic engineering is? I'm going to give you a little introduction on what genetic engineering is. We're going to take a few little points to it, and then we're going to go through and have you guys take a stance on whether you support it or not. And then I'll give you guys some different ideas that go to it. For it, you're going to have to pick whether you are for or against genetic engineering. The trick is, it's a blanket statement. You are either for all genetic engineering, and we open the doors and say we're just going to have to embrace it. Because once we say that we're going to do it, it's going to be hard to regulate it. You can't say, I like this part of it, and I like that part of it, this part of it's bad. Pretty much, if we open the doors in America to saying it's going to happen, it's across the board. Or you're going to say, nope, it's scary, bad things are going to happen, it's going to be abused, we're going to stop it and not let any of it happen. So you're going to have to pick one or the other. Also, my goal as we go through it is to try to spread the speaking around as much as possible, because, as always, it'll come down to just a small handful of you who are going to want to argue with each other as much as possible. So my goal is, as soon as that person who's never raised their hand, as soon as you raise your hand, you automatically get to jump in, even if someone else has been raising their hand the entire time. So keep that in mind. If you raise your hand and talk a lot, other people get to cut in front of you. So basically you get your one, I get to talk as immediately as I raise my hand time, and then after that, other people get cutsies in front of you. But if the other kids are just staring at me, then you get a chance to talk. I'm not going to force you to talk if you don't want to. Genetic engineering is going to involve directly altering the genetic structures, the stuff that makes up who we are as humans, of an organism to provide it with traits deemed useful or desirable by those doing the altering. We've been doing this already with plants. We genetic engineer plants all the time. It's how we get corn that can grow longer, or corn that can grow bigger, that can give us more corn. We do that with pumpkins, we do that with fruit, because oftentimes we'll have strawberries that have a very short growing season, where they're only going to be able to be harvested for 2 or 3 weeks. but we can genetically engineer them, and we can change how those plants grow to make it so that we can keep these strawberries out there to be picked and alive and good for months on end. And that's because of genetic engineering. If we didn't do that, we would not have as much food. We can do the same thing with rice. What's one of the big problems with getting food to Africa? It's hard to get the food to grow there because it's a desert. We can genetically engineer rice to make it so it will grow out there in deserts. And you can make it so even though rice is not supposed to be that way, we can engineer it. We can go in there and change it with science to make it so rice will grow in the desert. Then, people who don't have food get a chance to grow food out there in places you wouldn't normally have it. We've been doing this for a long time because it's plants, and the idea of genetically engineering plants is absolutely fine. They've been doing it with animals, and they've already been doing little bits and pieces. You can go up on the internet and do this thing called look up glow-in-the-dark cats, because have you seen the little things in the ocean that glow in the dark, the phosphorescent things? They've taken those genes and stuck them into kittens. And that way you have cats that can glow in the dark. And they actually have those. Now, they don't sell them in stores. They're just, out there in science laboratories and stuff like that. But it's the idea of this is things that they can do. Why would you want to do that? Well, you can take the idea of having these glow-in-the-dark genes and inserting them into certain animals, like sheep for farmers. They don't lose their sheep at night. And that way you could have sheep that glow in the dark. Or maybe the sheep will be able to grow wool that glows in the dark. And so you can have glow-in-the-dark clothing that will come from it. It's just a little baby step. And so they've already started manipulating this. The idea of cloning comes from the same idea. And we have started cloning animals. And they've already successfully cloned animals. They just don't live super long yet because we're still in that whole figuring things out yet. But if we can clone animals, we can clone humans. And so it's that idea of, should you be able to clone a human? Why would you want to? Well, think about if you are a parent and your child dies and there's a horrible car accident or something like that and you don't want your child to die and you have genes left over from them, from their toothbrush. Can you use that to then have a new baby and then start all over again because you don't want to lose that baby? And so it's that same idea. So that's where the whole idea of cloning comes in from there. Let's go to... And those four, see, blah blah is trying to improve. Same thing in the case of agriculture, is produce crop plants resistant to lower temperatures. The idea that they don't freeze, they don't die at high temperatures, herbicides, insect attack. You can make it so you have plants that resist insects when they attack. Things like that. There's negative engineering, the ability to eliminate gene defects or detrimental conditions from the subject. So the idea of removing disease from a baby before it gets born, we can go in there and remove things that maybe we should not have in there. And then you have positive engineering, which is the idea of enhancing or adding things to it. And this would be the idea of you could make a baby stronger or faster. You can choose the gender of your baby while it's still in utero. You can choose the hair color. You can choose the eye color. If there is anything involved in that baby, you could choose whether you wanted to have a smart baby or a fast baby or what you want to have in there. It basically is the same thing like a role-playing game. When you start off and then you get to sort of pick where you want your stats to go. It'd be the same idea except you're choosing it for your baby. And you can go in there and manipulate all those things that are involved. So my question is, with this information to start off, to give us a baseline, is to see which side you're going to be on. Whether you support this is something that we should do, or whether you don't support it and say this is something we should avoid doing. And then I'll start introducing points for us to go from there. So you're going to have to pick one side or the other. So we'll do those of you who support this and say we should fully embrace this and move forward with it, raise your hand. Now when you raise your hand, raise above your hand and be proud of who you are so I can tell the difference.
Bias.
And those of you who are against it, raise your hand. All right. So you have an idea. Now, you are more than welcome to change your mind and then realize this is where you have that paper in front of you because you're going to want to refer back to things other people have said because I won't be calling on you right away. If you start yelling out at other people, I will have to charge you points and be mean because I'm sure what you have to say is going to be very, very important and stuff like that. The first one, the brain surgery to enhance a person's IQ. Thoughts on this? Should we not be able to do it? Keely?
Well, it probably would be expensive. So then, if some people were smart and everybody who could afford it would be genius, then people who couldn't afford it would be basically dumb.
Is this a bad thing?
Well, if everybody else knew everything, then the people whose parents couldn't afford doing that.
So the smart people, the rich people will be smart and the poor people will be dumb.
Yeah.
Is that bad?
Yeah.
Why?
Because then that would make it unfair for some people who really try hard and they know things that people who weren't like enhanced would know.
Okay.
But then everybody else would be so much smarter because they tripled their IQ.
So your idea being is that it's not fair for the rich people to become smarter.
Yeah.
Is it fair for the rich people to own more stuff? Because
No.
you can't stop that. I mean, the idea being is that there's things that are going to come with being rich. You get to own more houses. You get to own bigger cars. You get to be smarter. You get to have babies that are genetically superior. Some of these things just come with being rich. And it's one of those things where, just so you know, my goal is that every argument or every point you come up with, I'm going to help you see the other side of it. I'm not on either side right now. My goal is just to try and propel the conversation forward. So if you agree with Keely, that's fine. If not, then I'm just making sure you see both sides. So I'm not trying to attack Keely. I'll be doing this to each and every one of you. Adam.
I mean, I kind of feel as if how everyone has seen it now. I think this is a case where it's a man that has like a first grade to kindergarten education.
He's stupid.
Yeah, he's
Right.
stupid. I mean, when you think about it for us, it's not like poor people, even if rich people were to be smarter, it wouldn't be to the point where poor people were necessarily dumb. They'd just be not as smart compared to rich people.
Correct. So it's not like we're going out there and dumbing everyone down. They'd still get to have their normal level of intelligence.
It would just be that rich people would just be smarter.
So
Which,
it's
I mean, when you think about it, people that are rich are normally the people that are moving forward, like, as in, like, making,
they're already better than us.
in a way. I'm not
Okay.
saying that, like, I'm not saying we're bad, I'm just saying that at
They're
this
better.
point in time, like, yeah.
Okay. Let's check. Abby Q.
It's like, I don't think they should do it because, I mean, everyone's unique and it wouldn't be fair if, like, I mean, it's
So it's not fair to be smart?
No, it's not right if people, it's like, because some people earn it, like, they do good in school and stuff, but other people, it's not nice, I think it's not right to just pay for it, just like, it's like a unique trait of people.
To be smart? So what
to
if
be,
we
like, smarter than others and stuff. It's
So
like,
what if the rich people can only do it for dumb kids? I mean, if a rich person has a kid that's mentally retarded, shouldn't they be allowed to help them out?
Yeah, but, like, if they help them out, like, too much, it'll be, like, where, like, they're going to be, like, smarter than everyone else, and then everyone's going to want it, and then the whole world's going to become genius, and, like,
Is that a bad thing?
but then, like, the jobs of scientists, everybody's going to get it, and there won't be people to work in factories, and there won't be people to do other
So we have to have poor dumb people.
Yeah.
Okay. Vince!
Well, like, you know how there's that, like, scandal with, like, people, like, scamming old people?
Yeah.
It would kind of be, like, the same thing because, like, there would be, like, kind of different levels. And, like, you could, like, tell someone that they're getting, like, this deal when you actually know that they're not doing that. So
you're saying smart people are dishonest?
no, like, if, like, they would, like, some people could take it to their advantage and, like, get smarter, but then they would, like, tell people who are basically, like, dumber than them, like, oh, you're getting a really good deal when you're not, and then other people would, like, start to catch on to that, too.
So you're saying dumb people are easy to take advantage of?
Yeah, kind of.
And so your worry is that with too many smart people, they're all... So basically you're going back to all the smart people are dishonest.
No, well,
Because
no.
once we have too many smart people, they're going to go around abusing all the dumb people.
Well, only some.
Just the gullible dumb people,
Yeah.
which is most of the dumb people. Okay. Now, another thing, as you guys go through, I'm only going to let you talk for a short amount of time, and then we're going to jump to a new topic here in just a moment, which will anger you, but life goes on, just so that you know, because then we'll have a new topic for you to get angry about. Wigger?
No.
Go ahead. You can go ahead and do your comment as we go to the next one.
Okay, on the brain surgery one?
Mhm.
Okay, well, if a baby was born and then you enhance the IQ so that you could, like, so that they would learn better, then everybody would be, like, sort of, like, smarter in a way.
Is that good or bad?
That would be good, because
Okay.
then everybody would be able to learn better and nobody would be, like...
And no one's getting taken advantage by the evil people.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go back to Pence's. So you're saying it's a good thing to go through there and help people out.
Yeah.
All right. How about the idea of not just the brain things? Let's jump to a new area here. Life-threatening surgical procedures, organ transplants, mending bones, lost limbs. If we can go in there and do this while a baby, you guys saw the Nick Vujicic video about the guy born without the arms and legs. With genetic engineering, it's not that hard to go in there and fix that and help figure out whatever's not making those limbs grow, fix them so that they do grow. Or if you have a kid that has Down syndrome, you can go in there and you can fix these things before the kid comes out. Or if you find out the kid is going to be mentally retarded, you can go in there and change these things. Would that be safe? Not doing any kind of modifications about hair color or eye color. We're saying just this idea of going in there to fix these things. Would that be okay? Jackson?
I don't think it would be okay because it's basically just changing who you are, and you're like basically changing your uniqueness and how you live. And you can, and if it's like a mentally retarded surgeon, he could accidentally cut a limb off when you're trying to put one on.
Well, I think if he was a mentally retarded surgeon, this would be post the mental retardation, so now he'd be smart. I don't think they're going to give a knife to the guy just stabbing people. It's an interesting point, but I think we should be safe in that area. Elf?
So wait, I have a question.
Yeah.
Can we have 2 different points on?
From one to the next? Sure.
Okay.
Does that help you out?
Yes.
Do you feel differently about this one?
What?
Do you feel differently about this one than the other one?
No.
I'm just checking. Ike?
So, like, mine's sort of what, like Jackson said, but you're changing your personality before you're even born. And look at that Nick Vujicic guy. He came, and he's famous now, even though he didn't have arms and legs.
Do you think he would trade all that famousness for having arms and legs?
No,
If he would have been born with arms and legs and had a childhood?
maybe, but I don't think so.
Okay, interesting. As a parent, do you think you would have, if you had that choice, they say, hey, your baby is going to be born without any arms and legs. You can go ahead and have that happen and have him go through life. Or we can go in there and just do a little fiddling and have him grow arms and legs. Your thought process is, who needs arms and legs? Just checking. Rose!
So like, okay, so like if everyone was the same, it'd be kind of like the uniqueness thing. Like that's what makes them them, and some of those things aren't such a bad thing.
So where are we
And
getting
then,
everyone being the same? We're just saying that everyone's not crippled. So
Well,
we have a
but
whole
this-
room here of people not crippled. Does that make everyone the same?
No.
Okay. We're just saying you get rid of all of the cripplings and the diseases and stuff like that.
I know, but this is my other point.
Okay.
So like, with life, like I think that everything happens for a reason, and if somebody, maybe somebody's meant to make a change because they're that way, or maybe it's just like an overpopulation problem. Like if everyone's super like physical and they don't have anything wrong with them, then the world would get so overpopulated that all
So we
our
need people to
resources-
die so that other
Well,
people can
that
live.
sounds bad. Don't just say that. But like, basically,
Yes.
we don't want everything to run out for the world to end sooner. I think that would just make everything kind of die off really quick if everyone was not dying.
So we need death.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, we need death.
Okay. And realize this is coming from a person that's in a fairly healthy person in a fairly well-to-do area of the world, and you're saying we need those other people to die so that we can live our life.
No, but that's not what I was saying.
What do you
I'm just
That's
checking.
why I didn't want to use the word death, but you were kind of, well,
Okay,
we need
so
death.
we need those other people to no longer be living.
No!
I didn't use the
I
D
mean,
word.
I don't want people to die, but if everyone lived forever, we wouldn't be here right now.
So what's the opposite of living? Yes, check. Hey!
Well, I've got a question.
Yes, dear.
You said we are either for or against genetic engineering,
Mm-hmm.
but now you're letting us change our mind between
On
like.
individual ones, but at the end, you're still going to have to go overall. So you can say, that was a positive, this was a negative, this was a positive, and then you're going to have to weigh them all together and go, more positives or negatives.
Okay, so then at the end, are we going to
To
like
revote?
have a debate on that, on like the whole thing?
We'll see.
Because I've got a thing of the whole like.
You can go ahead and throw that out there now.
Oh, okay.
Go for it.
Well, I'm for like genetic engineering overall because I think there should be the chance, like if you chose to be able to do something, but I also think there needs like regulations to limit how many people do it and how often people do it, and I also need.
So if you
safety
limit it, it's
concerns.
pretty much going to be limited to rich people.
No, like.
Because that's the only way to limit it is by doing it by
No,
money
not
wise.
like that. Like, I think there should be like a system that watches, because with having to be able to change like how you look and stuff, you could basically end up changing your identity more easily. so therefore like crime levels would go up. So I believe like there should be a system to regulate how often you change some aspect.
Gotcha. So you're afraid of people changing how they look, but we already have that. It's called plastic surgery.
No, but like more
And wigs.
indefinite. Like
True. But what if we just did it to the babies before they're born?
I think that would be
Then we're okay.
Yeah.
So just to the babies.
well, like not for that
Okay.
point. Yeah, I guess.
York.
Okay, so for the life-threatening
Yeah.
ones, like, I mean, like, if you think about Nick
Vujicic?
yeah. So, like, when he was, like, a kid and stuff, yeah, he would have thought that his life sucked or whatever, but now, like, if you look at him now, he has a pretty, like, he's happy with his life, so he, like, even though he doesn't have arms and legs, like, he's still happy with himself. So, like, what Madison said, like, everything happens for a reason. So if he would have, like, changed, if he would have had, like, limbs or whatever, like, arms and legs and stuff, it would have changed his whole life, and his whole life would have, like, ended up differently.
Have you ever had a headache?
Yeah.
What do you do when you have a headache?
I don't know.
Just sit there and think about the headache, or how do you fix the headache problem? Take medicine. But shouldn't you not take medicine, because didn't God give you that headache? Shouldn't you just sit there and take that headache? Why would you change the way you were? Rock roll. Chloe!
Okay, so, well, I think all this stuff is good
Uh-huh.
because, like, we can't just, like, stay right here where we are, like, with our technology. Like, we're gonna soon progress with it,
Okay.
and, like, this is, like, the next step.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we can't just, like, not want to do it and just, like, stay in this generation forever. Like, we're gonna progress with it. So, like, if we imagine a diagram, okay, so here's some buildings over here, and these buildings are like, and these buildings are like older buildings, and like not like that, like McDonald's and like Burger King and everything, and here's some like banks and stuff, like important stuff, not so important stuff. Well, the not so important stuff, it's soon gonna fall off, and then here's like the important stuff. Then we build more important stuff, so this becomes like the less important stuff, and this is the more important stuff, and then this will soon fall off, like as the years go on.
Move forward
And then
as a
here's
society.
the important stuff,
Okay.
and here's the more important stuff, and this one. Okay, and it just keeps going and
Right.
going. So this is like, and if we have this, you know, it's like, so brain surgery.
Uh-huh.
Like, if somebody so somebody's not smart, I mean, they're gonna, like, if they get brain surgery, then they can, like, become a scientist, and that old stuff can, like, fall off, and then we can keep progressing with the new stuff. Like, if there's more scientists, then there's, like, less people working at McDonald's, and we can, like, create
Hold that
more.
thought. Adam! Kept going for a
No.
while. I had to cut you off eventually.
On the life-threatening and the optional surgical, I think that it's kind of a thing where, like, you were all talking about how Nick is, like, grown up to be like this.
Mhm.
Well, I don't know if you were paying attention or whatever, but he said there were several times when he tried to commit suicide.
A lot when he was younger.
Yeah, and I think a thing about that is that if everyone was just born normal, I know he's famous for that, but, like, do you think he'd rather be famous for being an actor or be famous for being something
Makes a difference.
Normal?
with arms? Yeah, something with arms and legs, and something that's, like, just you hear the experiences he went through, and, like, even kids today, like, you just, I don't know about you guys, but, like, sometimes I wish for them that they could be, like,
Normal?
just like, just like us.
So you're for it?
Well, yeah, because
So-
that doesn't enhance someone,
Mhm.
that just makes them normal.
Now, the part of the plan that goes with that is who gets to choose what's life-threatening. Let's say that you have a white guy and a black girl. They get married, and they're going to have a mixed-race child. And so they go in there genetic engineering-wise, and they say, we can bump one way or the other which race you want your child to resemble more. And they say, well, I want this race or that race because I fear what might happen if they come out this race. And they're saying, that's life-threatening because I don't want them to go through life of this particular race. So is that something you should be able to adjust? Because they say it's life-threatening, because they say, I grew up this way, and I don't want my kid to have to go through the hardships I did. So is that something they should be able to change also? Or you have someone who has a short child, and they're like, hey, I grew up 5'2" as a guy, and it drove me nuts, everyone made fun of me, and I got bullied. I want my baby to be at least 5'8". And so I'm going to genetically engineer my child to come out at least 5'8" or more. And so those are things that, I mean, once you open up one, they say that's life-threatening because I almost committed suicide as a kid because of being short and the fact that I got bullied, and I don't want my kid to get bullied. So for me, that's something that was life-threatening because I almost died from it. So you start opening up that stuff too. Keely.
So I'm against it overall because, like, if somebody were to get brain surgery and then become genius and they used it badly, they could become like a really bad person, and they could probably be really smart and commit crimes and get away with them. And then also they could make themselves like really strong or like fast so they can get away or something.
Couldn't they also do that and help people? Couldn't they become a great scientist and make the world better?
And then also, yes, because but then everybody would want to be a scientist because they'd all be genius, and then nobody else would be doing all the other jobs.
So we need to have poor people for the world to exist? Back to
No.
Abby Q's argument?
No.
Oh, you just said we have to have people who have those roles.
No, we just. I'm not saying we have to have poor people. There just have to be some people who whose sole interest isn't just.
So dumb people.
No.
So people, uninteresting people.
No.
People that want to do the boring
No,
robots.
people.
Can we have robots do those?
Yeah, that's
If we bring in robots to do those jobs, now you're okay with it?
Okay,
Because we can have
well,
robots do those
no,
jobs.
because if there are thousands of robots, then they
They're gonna take over.
no, because they're not people, so they're not
Thistle.
interesting.
Okay, so like I'm agreeing with her because like if we have robots, like everybody has a personality.
Uh-huh.
So like if you're like an artist or something, or like your work has personality in it.
Uh-huh.
So if you have robots to do that, then it's just gonna look boring and it's not gonna make the world unique.
So we need to have everyone be different.
Yeah.
Okay. Just interesting. Wigger.
That's what I was trying to
Okay,
say.
well, like the organ replacement one that was just up,
Mhm.
the mechanical one I think would be better because like then like they wouldn't have to wait to get like a new heart or a new organ and then die maybe, and because like if they were young, only like 20 maybe, and they had to get a new heart or something, then and they had to wait really long, they could die. And if it was mechanical, they could just get a new heart and then it wouldn't like fail again.
What if we could grow it in the time it takes that? We get to the point where we can grow you a new heart. We can do it in the laboratory. We use your cells, and we can grow a heart, and then we can do a heart transplant using your own body's cells.
That would be cool.
So now you're okay with it?
They can
Just checking.
3D print
Now,
stuff.
the one I want to bring up next is to go back to what Keely was bringing up and what you're worried about is the super geniuses attacking things. They've discovered that brain chemical stuff, that there are things in your brain they can figure out that make people more predisposed to be a criminal. That if you have certain genetic traits in your brain, even as a baby, that you are much more likely to grow up to be violent, or you're much more likely to grow up to be an addict, or you're much more likely to grow up to commit crimes. What if we can either A, take that out while you're still a baby, and go in there and remove these things and say, take out that violent gene from you, or wait till after you commit a crime. And once you've committed a crime, we can go in there and remove these genes from your brain. And we can genetically engineer and say, we're going to go in there and remove these bits from who you are. So the idea of the criminal lobotomy, fixing the broken, evil brain, either while you're still in utero before you pop out, or as a person once you're out there in the world. Jackson?
Well, I don't think we should do this because if we took out all the criminal cells from you and like criminal genes from all the criminal people that you think will be criminals, there wouldn't be any police or all those people. A ton of people would go unemployed.
So you're on the same page as her. We need people to die. So you want bad people in the world because it gives other people jobs.
Mhm.
So, no, I'm just going to leave that one out there. That's solid. King?
Okay. So I think I would agree with this. Like you.
There we
The one time I raised my hand.
go. I know. Tomorrow we get to a whole new story.